Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Sunday, June 14th, 2026, and you're listening to Alex's News. In Riverside today, we are looking at a pleasant high of 76.8 degrees, with temperatures dropping to a low of 63.1 degrees tonight. It is a beautiful day to observe Flag Day, so I hope you take a moment to appreciate the occasion if you are heading out. On today's program, we will examine the court order requiring the restoration of specific national park exhibits linked to the Trump administration. Beyond that, we have a variety of other important headlines to cover. It is going to be a packed episode, with plenty of information to help you stay informed about the latest developments. All this and more coming up on Alex's News. Stay tuned. Good morning. We're following a major legal showdown over how America tells its own story at national parks. A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to put back exhibits it stripped from dozens of historic sites. Here to walk us through it is our reporter Ethan. Ethan, good morning.
Good morning, Grace. This ruling came down just 2 days ago, on June 12th, from U.S. District Judge Angel Kelly of the District of Massachusetts. She issued a preliminary injunction telling the federal government to restore dozens of exhibits, signs, and interpretive materials at National Park Service sites. These were materials removed under a policy targeting content the administration said, quote, inappropriately disparages, end quote, the nation's history. And the judge didn't mince words about what she thought of that.
So what exactly did the judge say in her ruling?
Well, according to NBC Philadelphia and the Associated Press, Judge Kelly described the administration's actions as an attempt, quote, to rewrite the nation's history with a whiteout pen, end quote. She said history can't be told faithfully if it leaves out the struggles and contributions of diverse communities. Her order pauses any additional changes to park exhibits. And it requires the administration to file weekly status reports showing progress on restoring what was removed.
That's a strong rebuke. Who actually brought this case to court?
The lawsuit was filed back in February of this year by a coalition of preservation groups. That includes the National Parks Conservation Association, the American Association for State and Local History, and the Association of National Park Rangers. The Washington Post and PBS report the plaintiffs argued the administration violated the National Park Service Organic Act, which requires an accurate and unimpaired account of history. They also cited the Administrative Procedure Act, which bars arbitrary and capricious policy shifts made without a reasoned explanation.
And the removals trace back to a presidential order, right? Tell us about that.
That's right. They stem from Executive Order 14,253, titled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History, which President Trump signed last year. The Guardian and CBS News report it was influenced by the philosophy of the 1776 Commission. The goal, the order says, is to keep federal landmarks from displaying, quote, improper partisan ideology, end quote. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum then directed the removal of materials he described as corrosive ideology and social justice activism.
Do we know how the Interior Department actually decided what to take down?
We do, and this is striking. Internal Department of the Interior documents revealed officials flagged descriptions as, quote, disparaging to the American spirit, end quote, and unnecessarily critical of the U.S. cavalry. As Mother Jones reported, the administration argued that the National Park Service exists to inspire national pride, not to serve as a platform for, quote, self-flagellation regarding past errors, end quote. So the review really was about tone, not accuracy. That ends up being a key issue in the judge's ruling.
How widespread were these removals across the park system?
This scope is enormous, Grace. According to court documents and reporting from National Parks Traveler, more than 500 items were affected across 430 national park sites. So we're talking about a sweeping, nationwide effort. And some of the specific examples really put a fine point on what was taken down. They range from slavery exhibits to materials about Native American history to displays at LGBTQ landmarks.
Can you give us a few of those examples?
Sure. At Independence National Historical Park in Philadelphia, exhibits about the 9 people enslaved by George Washington at the President's House site were removed. Those displays were based on a 2007 archaeological excavation and a decade of academic research. At the Sand Creek Massacre National Historic Site in Colorado, the administration ordered the word genocide removed. They wanted to reframe the 1864 massacre of Cheyenne and Arapaho people as a conflict or battle caused by, quote, mutual misunderstandings, end quote.
Wow. And I understand some of the removals were even more surprising than that.
Yes. At Sunset Crater Volcano National Monument in Arizona, a sign describing basalt bubbles was removed. Why? Because the photo featured a visitor holding a pride flag, which the Interior Department labeled improper partisan symbolism. At Lowell National Historical Park in Massachusetts, films about the grueling conditions and low wages of 19th century mill workers were taken down for being, quote, implicit critiques of the Gilded Age, end quote. And at Muir Woods National Monument in California, exhibits about the displacement of the Coast Miwok and Southern Pomo peoples were dismantled.
What about Stonewall? That's one I'd expect to be in the mix.
It is. At Stonewall National Monument in New York, the administration ordered the removal of pride flags and associated displays. Officials argued the site should focus on broader, quote, American dignity, end quote. That move drew enormous backlash from historians and LGBTQ advocates. And it's one of the examples cited in the lawsuit as evidence the policy wasn't really about accuracy at all.
That brings us back to the judge's reasoning. What did she find about whether these exhibits were factually wrong?
This was central to her ruling. As reported by PBS and The Washington Post, the administration failed to provide any evidence that the removed exhibits were factually inaccurate. The original displays at sites like the President's House and Sand Creek came out of multi-year peer reviews. Those involved career historians, academic scholars, and descendant communities. So these weren't fringe interpretations, they were the product of rigorous scholarship.
And there were legal requirements about consulting tribal nations too, weren't there?
Exactly. In the Sand Creek case, the 1998 Study Act legally mandated government-to-government consultations with tribal nations. The judge found the Trump administration bypassed those legal obligations entirely, and officials provided no scientifically disputed assertions to justify the changes. Instead, the Interior Department's review focused entirely on the tone of the materials. Judge Kelly concluded that by removing factually accurate signs, the administration was effectively telling half-truths.
How are conservationists and historians reacting to all this?
They're celebrating. Alan Spears of the National Parks Conservation Association called the decision a, quote, big damn deal, end quote. He said it protects parks from a campaign to erase history and science. Bill Wade of the Association of National Park Rangers said the ruling was a real morale boost for park employees, who pride themselves on giving visitors unbiased information. For rangers who've watched their exhibits get stripped, this validates their concerns.
And how is the administration responding?
With hostility. Interior Department spokesperson Katie Martin called Judge Kelly a, quote, liberal activist judge, end quote. As of this morning, June 14th, the administration hasn't filed a formal notice of appeal, but the Department of Justice is expected to seek an emergency stay from the First Circuit Court of Appeals within days. So this fight is far from over.
There's also a tight deadline tied to a major national milestone, right?
There is, and it's significant. The court has ordered all restorations completed by July 3rd, just under 3 weeks from today. That timing is deliberate. It's meant to ensure the sites are fully prepared for the United States' 250th anniversary celebrations on July 4th. So the administration is being asked to reverse a sweeping policy in a very short window, right as the country prepares to mark its semi-quincentennial.
What's the bigger constitutional question at stake here?
At its core, Grace, this case asks whether the executive branch can curate what Judge Kelly called a, quote, sanitized national myth, end quote, or whether it's bound by congressional mandates to preserve the, quote, whole cloth, end quote, of American history. That includes triumphs and tragedies alike. As the case heads toward the appellate level, it's becoming a pivotal test of presidential power over historical interpretation. And the outcome could shape how Americans encounter their own past at national parks for years to come.
Fascinating story with major implications. Ethan, thanks so much for breaking it all down for us this morning.
My pleasure, Grace.
Here are some other headlines. Elon Musk is officially over the moon as he rockets into the history books as the world's very first trillionaire. SpaceX blasted off onto the NASDAQ with a record-breaking $75 billion initial public offering on June 12, 2026. Trading under the ticker symbol SPCX, shares launched at $150 and finished their first day of orbit at $160.95. This astronomical debut gives the company a market capitalization of roughly $2.1 trillion, ranking it among the 6 most valuable firms on Earth and nearly doubling its valuation from last year. Musk is certainly feeling buoyant as his personal net worth hit $1.1 trillion, eclipsing the combined wealth of the next 4 richest people on the planet. This influx of cosmic cash is expected to fuel his Starship Mars colonization dreams and turn Starlink into an orbital hub for artificial intelligence data centers. While investors are starstruck, the event has reignited heated global debates regarding wealth inequality and the sheer gravity of private influence in national security. From the stars in space to the stars on the court, the New York Knicks have finally found their championship rhythm, ending a 53-year drought that left fans feeling blue. In a 94-90 victory over the San Antonio Spurs on Saturday, the Knicks clinched their first title since 1973. Point guard Jalen Brunson was the man of the hour, netting a franchise record 45 points and earning the finals' Most Valuable Player trophy. It was a slam dunk for the Nova Knicks roster strategy, as former Villanova teammates McCall Bridges and Josh Hart helped the team bounce back from double-digit deficits throughout the series. They even erased a 29-point lead in a previous game to prove they have no quit. While Victor Wembanyama put up a tall fight with 19 points and 14 rebounds, it simply was not enough to stop New York from taking the crown 4-1. Moving to the high seas, the British government is making sure the Russian shadow fleet does not have a smooth sail. In a high-stakes mission authorized by Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Royal Marine Commandos from 42 Commando boarded the Cameroon-flagged tanker Smirtos in the English Channel. This 244-meter vessel was suspected of funneling sanctioned crude oil to fund the ongoing war. New Defense Secretary Dan Jarvis, who just stepped into the role on June 11th, confirmed the ship is now being held off the coast of Dorset for a deep dive inspection. It seems the United Kingdom is no longer content to just watch from the shore, asserting a much firmer grip on maritime law to intercept these aging, stateless vessels. In the world of tech, OpenAI is finding itself in a bit of a logical loop. A bipartisan coalition of 42 state attorneys general, led by New York's Letitia James, has served the company with a sweeping subpoena. Investigators are looking into whether the artificial intelligence models are being too agreeable, a flaw called model sycophancy, and if the platform poses risks to minors and seniors regarding data privacy. This legal storm comes just as the company prepares its own $850 billion public debut. Meanwhile, a separate lawsuit in Florida is claiming the company misrepresented its safety before several tragic incidents. Finally, the future of summer is looking a lot brighter for your skin. For the first time in over 25 years, the Food and Drug Administration has finalized the approval of a new sunscreen ingredient called bimotrizonol. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. stated this was a priority to help close the gap in protection against ultraviolet rays that has left Americans feeling the burn compared to consumers overseas. This new shield is highly photostable and safe for children as young as 6 months old. Major manufacturers expect the cream of the crop to hit retail shelves by late summer or the end of 2026. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Opus 4.6, Gemini Pro 3.1, Gemini Flash 3, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.